Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. And if you're new here, well, that's exactly what I do. Not scientific reviews. I don't go into great details and charts and all that sort of malarkey. I leave that to the experts that understand all that kind of stuff. Mine's more practical as far as, you know, using the kit and, you know, what I think of it from a usability point of view and obviously output quality point of view. And what we're looking at today is a camera that I very recently purchased, probably about a month ago. So I've been using it extensively for the last 3, 4, 5 weeks or so, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a really nice camera. And the one I purchased is the, actually there's no weight to it, forget you pick it up, is the Olympus OM D EM5 Mark III. I have criticised the Olympus naming in the past, and I've had some sort of irritating comments, so I'm not going to criticise their naming, but I think it's a bit of a mouthful anyway, so that is a criticism, isn't it? It's the Olympus OM D EM5 Mark III. Great camera, micro four thirds. That is itself presents its own criticisms, because there are many people that feel you have to have at least APS-C or you have to have full frame to get a decent image. You absolutely don't. You genuinely don't. And I can prove that with some of the images I've taken very recently with the EM5 Mark III. And very compact camera, very modern design, lovely to use, really nice little grip. I say little grip because it hasn't got that deep hand grip you find on some cameras, like you might find on the Fuji XS10. That's got a really hefty deep grip on that, but it's substantially heavier and the lenses are substantially bigger. So I'm happy to sacrifice a deep grip for a nice compact body. I mean, you can buy third-party grips like this little one I got here. Got this one off eBay, I think, not eBay, off Amazon. I think it was like 60 quid, 50 quid, something like that. No controls on it, you literally just screw it into the base and that gives you a bigger handle to hold on to the camera. It's also got an Arca Swiss plate, so you can put it straight onto a tripod, so that's quite handy. Olympus do make their own grip. I think it's called the BCG E5 or EMCG5, something like that, and that fits on it, and that's got a controls on the grip as well, but it's 170 quid. I weren't going to buy that. Also, you can't change the battery with a grip attached, and I come on to the reasons why you would want to do that in a minute. But yeah, so nice small grip. Very small body. You can see in my hands how small this body is. My little pinky finger slips underneath, which is fine by me. I actually quite like that because it gives it an additional grip. I really do like the fact that it slides underneath. Most people don't like it, but I prefer that, and that's really nice. And it's got your traditional control dials on the top here. So you've got your 2 front and rear wheel control dial on the top, and your PASM dial on the top here. The PASM dial is lockable. I don't think that was necessary, to be honest, but you can push the button in and that completely locks it. Push the button in again and that unlocks it, so you can actually rotate the dial. And your on-off switch is on the left-hand side, so that turns it on and off. But the nice thing with this particular model, as with the OM D EM1 Mark II, I suspect the EM1 Mark III and some of the others, it's got this I don't know what you call it, lever on the back here. So you've got 2 position lever on the back here, position 1 and position 2, and you can use that as the on-off switch. So if you're a one-handed person and you want to be able to turn it on and off with one hand, you can program this lever to be the on-off switch. Now, I haven't done that. I've programmed it for another purpose. I'll tell you what that is in just a moment. But so it's got your AEL lock button. Again, that's for back button focusers. I haven't got it programmed for that either. So and that's the really nice thing with Olympus cameras. And to be fair, most manufacturers these days, certainly Panasonic, got buttons all over the place. But all of these buttons, there's one on the front here as well, just by the lens, so you can actually program that one. They're all configurable, so you can remap them for what you want. But the downside with that, you can't remap them to everything. Unlike the Sony cameras, there's a massive long list as to what you can remap those buttons to. You can't with Olympus. It's quite a narrow list in all honesty. You know, I haven't remapped them for too many things. But the fact that you can do is, you know, is great. But it's not a very heavy body. I should put in the description. Actually, I might even know what the weight is. No, it doesn't say it on my notes. But it isn't very heavy. And that's what makes it great for traveling. It's a great take anywhere travel camera. If you've done a lot of hiking, you know, this is what you want to take. It really is. A couple of decent lenses, maybe a couple of pro lenses. Being that it's micro four thirds, it takes either Panasonic or Olympus lenses and Sigma lenses in the micro four thirds mount. You can see there the sensor is quite a bit smaller than what you would find in APS-C, or you would obviously find in full frame. Yeah, it's a 20 megapixel sensor, 20 megapixel micro four thirds sensor, so pretty decent size. Fine for printing, large prints even. Unless you're going to do a lot of cropping. I wouldn't recommend a great deal of cropping with micro four thirds because the sensor's small. It's not going to cope with it like full frame would do, or a larger sensor would do. Something like, when I say larger sensor, I mean larger megapixel sensor. You know, a 45 megapixel sensor is going to enable you to do more cropping than what the 20 megapixel sensor is in the EM5 Mark III. But you can do it, and I've done it, and it's absolutely fine. It's got 5-axis image stabilization, and it's one of the best in class. In fact, it is the best in class. I've gone down to like 1.5 seconds and still got a pin sharp image. So Olympus are renowned for their image stabilization, and it doesn't disappoint in the EM5 Mark III. That is great. 3-inch articulating screen on the back, so that's rather nifty. I say rather nifty, I don't know why I say rather nifty. It's pretty common nowadays in most of the new cameras coming out. Although, oddly enough, Sony with their new Alpha 1, admittedly it's £6,500. It's not, you know, I wouldn't even dare compare it with this. But that hasn't got an articulating screen, it has just got a flippy whippy screen, which is bizarre, but there you go. But this has got your 3-inch articulating screen. Great for vloggers, great for getting low angle photographs, high angle photographs, just turning it around like that. But particularly useful for selfies and for vlogging. Brilliant. Would help with, obviously I haven't got the lens cap on if the lens cap was off. Yeah, brilliant for vloggers, and that's and of course with the 5-axis image stabilization, you'll get a pretty steady image, you know, even handheld. And I'm not the best at vlogging. In fact, I don't do vlogging because I have a painful shoulder, so I can't hold a camera up for too long. But this one I can for quite a reasonable length of time because it isn't heavy, and that is a blessing. That's a wonderful blessing. It does 4K video. It's actually got quite a few video codecs for a camera in this price range, but I'm going to go into the video features and some of the lack of features in just a moment. But that's an overview of it. It's got various, again, function buttons on the top here. It's got a quick menu. I think Olympus call it super menu or something, I'm not sure, but I've got it assigned to this button here. I'll go into that and the quick menu comes up, and it is touchscreen. So the menu is, you can assign, you can get to these functions via touching it. I'm not going to be able to show you unless I can just touch on anything. Yeah, and it goes to, that's gone to the image stabilization. If I click somewhere else, that's gone to, not sure what that is, I'd have to look at that. So it's got the, you know, a completely full touchscreen. So you can access the menus via the touchscreen, and obviously for taking photographs, focus points and all the rest of it. As I said, it's a 3-inch screen, but the screen is touchscreen, and you can access your focus points just by touching anywhere on the screen, and it will go to that particular part. You can also do it while it's up to your eye. And I really like that as well. I think there's a lot of cameras that do that. But what I find with the Olympus, which I don't find with other cameras, is that my nose doesn't move a focus point. And I think that's awesome. With a lot of other cameras I use, my nose moves the focus point, and it's really frustrating. So I have to turn that feature off. But not with this camera. I can actually move my focus point. Not that you can see that it's working, but it is, I can assure you. I can move my focus point. Let's focus on my Panasonic camera in the middle there. Take the photograph and play that back. And it's focused on the item that I moved that spot to. And it has got tremendous, vastly improved continuous autofocus tracking. And I use that virtually all the time. I find it's very intuitive. It finds what I want to focus on. It seems to know. It's got obviously many artificial intelligence algorithms built into the camera, but it's got 121 phase detect and contrast detect autofocus points. So it's using both. It's using phase and contrast autofocus points, which is very similar to the OM-D EM, but without the weight and the size of the OM-D EM. So autofocus you're not going to have any issues with. It's great. And again, you can configure these buttons to set up the autofocus points as you wish. This button here, as I said, I've remapped this button here. I use it all the time, and I've got it mapped for single autofocus. Push it in once and push it in again, and you get continuous tracking autofocus. And you can set it up for that, which is really, really excellent. In the menu, go through the menu and you can set that up. But this lever, as I said earlier, I haven't got it set for on off because I also do video. This is one of the very few cameras that I've used. The Nikon can do it, and there's a few others that do it. I might be in, let's say I'm in shutter priority for taking photographs, and I do see a video come up, you know, a scene that I might want a video. I've mapped this button at the back here to take me straight to the video features at the right shutter speed to be able to do video. And there we go, it's gone straight into video. I can see the audio levels, and I can you know, take video with that. I love that feature. It's one of my favorite features of Olympus cameras, particularly the OM-1 Mark II and now the EM5 Mark III. I mean, that's a great little feature. May not be useful for those that are predominantly into photography. You might want to remap that for something else or for the on-off switch. But I've mapped that for, you know, going straight to video, and then I can take that straight back to stills. I'm back in, you know, yeah, shutter priority, and there we are back in shutter priority for taking photographs. Nice viewfinder. I think it's a 2.4 million dot viewfinder. I will put in the description exactly what it is. It's bright, and again, another great feature for me. I've got quite poor eyesight. The text, I call it the text, the information display is really large, so I can absolutely clearly see the you know, shutter speed, aperture, exposure compensation, ISO, whatever, very clearly, very easily. I really do wish other manufacturers would, you know, provide that sort of clarity, not just of the actual image, but of the information displayed within that image. I find that particularly useful. It takes a new, I think it's the same battery as the EM10 Mark III or Mark IV. It's quite a small battery, unfortunately, and I went out the other afternoon, only went out for a few hours, and I ran out of battery while I was out taking photographs. So you will need at least 2 batteries. It's quite a small battery, and it's fine, but just bear in mind you're going to need more than 1 battery. But what they have done, which is nice, they've moved the SD card slot to the side. So rather than being where the battery is, it's in the side, and that's great if you've got a grip on the camera. It's just much more pleasurable taking the SD card out the side of the camera than it is having it in the battery compartment. So I really do like that feature. And it's got various other ports on the side. It's got a microphone jack, which is really good. So that's really useful for those into vlogging or into any video recording, to have a microphone jack. And you can set the levels manually. It isn't automatic. You can set the levels manually, so there's a microphone jack there. But it is lacking a headphone jack, which is a real pity. With the EM5 Mark II, they provided a battery grip, but you could plug a headphones into the battery grip. You can't do with the EM5 Mark III. There's no grip available with a headphone jack, so you're stuffed really. You just have to hope by looking at the needles the audio is, you know, going through. There are many microphones on the market, of course, where you can plug headphones into the microphone or the receiver if it's a wireless microphone, but you still don't know that that sound is going into the camera. As a bit of an oversight, I think, on Olympus, particularly at the price this camera is at. It's got USB ports on the side. You can charge it via USB and by a USB block, which is really, really handy. And it's got micro HDMI port, and that's all fine and dandy. Weather sealed, good quality covers on these ports, really like them. Got no complaints with them whatsoever. But you know, there you go. Now, as I say, the beauty with Micro Four Thirds is the compactness of the camera bodies, but more importantly than that, how compact the lenses are and how good quality the lenses are. Now, this lens here I got really cheap, and it is a 14 to 150. Now that's a 28 to 300. 28 to 300 in full frame terms. That's a very wide coverage. Look how compact and how light that whole kit is for a 28 to 300 travel anywhere camera. So I can, you know, highly recommend that. It's great. I say highly recommend a lot, don't I? But I do. I'm not just saying it because you know, I bought this camera. I actually do highly recommend that as a great travel camera. I suffer badly with a bad back, and now you know, I'm reviewing all this sort of kit. I really do enjoy taking out a lighter camera because I'll take more photographs rather than leaving it in the bag because I'm finding it too heavy to carry around. Now it's video features. As I said earlier, we'll do 4K. It's all 8-bit internal. Video on it is great. I'll show you some clips in a moment. I went outdoors and done a vlogging test, so that'll show you how good it is. Face detect and eye detect is excellent on here, so it will hold the face. And as I say, with its 5-axis image stabilization, that's great as well. And the fact that I can just flick that switch down and that takes me straight into video is great. But a couple of downsides with video with this camera, which kind of does disappoint me, but it's not a deal breaker, but it is, you know, annoying. First of all, as I said, there's no headphone jack, so there's no way of monitoring the audio. And the other thing that really is disappointing is the audio levels are tiny. They're remember the top left-hand corner there, but they're so much smaller than what they are on the Panasonic bodies. Although Panasonic is predominantly a video camera. You look at the GH5. Most people that buy the GH5 are buying it for video and not buying it for stills. But I just find that a bit weak and a bit small. Also, when you hit the record button, which is, for me, again, with my bad eyes, is the most disappointing thing. I hit the record and you get, on the top left-hand corner, you do get a flashing red indicator that it is recording, but isn't that really small? On my Panasonic S5 and on my Sony ZV-1, on the ZV-1 I've got a big red tally light telling me that it is recording, and on the S5 I've got a big red square that goes around the frame so that I know it's recording. On the EM5 Mark III you just get a piddly little record light that shows you that it is recording. None of these are big deals, but they're just a little bit frustrating. But other than that, video quality is fine. You know, bit rate is reasonable. It's not the best, but it's reasonable. Yeah, so there we go. That's a very quick overview. Now the images, I've got some that are here loaded up in a piece of software that I've been using for a long time now. I use Lightroom, but I've been using Luminar 4 for a long time. This is a newer version, which is Luminar AI. But let's just quickly go through some of these images. But when my computer loads it, it will do. There we go. Gets there eventually. You get really nice sharp images. It's a shame my computer doesn't load it very quick, because there we go. Look, absolutely gorgeous sharpness. But let's go through. Let's have a look at that. See, colours are really good. And this is with that cheap lens. This is with that 15 to 150 lens. If you stick a real pro lens on, let's go past these. Let's go to right here. Now, this was taken with the Panasonic 12 to 35 lens. You know, gorgeous sharpness in this tree. I mean, that is a lovely lens. You can see the quality of the bark eventually. But the nice thing with this Luminar AI, it's brilliant. It's incredibly easy to use. You've got all the different functions for obviously editing your photographs. But look at the clean layout. It's a really nice clean layout. But that's for photograph edited. Well, I say edited. All I've done is increase the contrast, brightness. But that's what came out of camera. And that's what it looks like with a bit of editing. I've got rid of a lamppost and I've tidied the sky up. In fact, I've dropped a new sky in. And that took a matter of 10 seconds to drop in. And, you know, that's, I've done that one. You can overdo it with some of these effects because you can actually make them look false. But I love it. I think it's great. With this one, I've dropped a sky in, but I've also dropped some birds in. And that's all part of a program. But you can actually, I've got a link to my other website where I've got special offers and all sorts of things going on that website. If you take a look at that website, you'll find a link to download the trial version of Luminar 4 and the trial version of Luminar AI. They're both different programs. You get $10 off. If you decide you want to buy it, use the coupon code AVP when you check out, and you'll get $10 off the purchase price. Got to be worth it. And it's not dear. Something like 50, 60 quid. It's, you know, and there's no subscription. Once you own it, you own it, you know. There's no like 10 quid a month paid to Adobe. There's another one. Yeah, that's a bit false. I've overdone that one because I've stuck a dirty great big plane in there. But I've done that just to show really, you know, what this can do. I wouldn't recommend anyone do that. But yeah, some great images that come out of this. That looks like something out of the Soviet Union, doesn't it? That's our town centre. Derelict building, used to be Debenhams. Pretty much derelict building up there. You would think you've come out of the Soviet Union, I think. Anyway, now we get to a much nicer place, just down the road. But yeah, again, you look at this image here, the recovery, the dynamic range of the EM5 Mark III is tremendous. So again, you don't need to worry about dynamic range because it's got a smaller sensor. But dynamic range is still there. You can still, you know, bring down the highlights and bring up the shadows and create. You know, as I said, that's what it did look like. You can hardly read the text, and you can bring it all back in without destroying the image. So, yeah, very, you know, and these images can be printed to, you know. You can print large prints out of these images. There's another one with a new sky. These images you can really print up large if you wanted to. Again, if you look at that, very blown out. The highlights are completely blown out. But with just, you know, a bit of editing, no new sky in that one. Look, I brought the detail and the sky and the trees back in, and in the text on the, you know, that notice. Just is excellent. Replacement sky in that one using Luminar AI, and it's a really snappy program to use, a new sky, and I do like that one. So I don't think that's overdone. I mean, that's added a bit of drama to it. Yeah, I do like that. That's as it was. That's with a replacement sky. So there we go. That is an introduction to the Olympus OM D EM5 Mark III. On the website, I leave a link in. There will be a link to the my Amazon affiliate page where you can purchase, you know, this and many other stuff. I do earn a kickback from Amazon. It's a tiny amount, but it helps me, you know, run the channel. So if you do want to buy something, it's worth getting it through Amazon. Also, another supplier that I use a lot is Wex Photographic. They're really good as well. So, you know, it's worth using the Amazon link because it helps me out, but also have a look at Wex anyway, because they're a great company. But yeah, it's brilliant camera. Say very lightweight, great to carry around. Battery life is a bit suspect. It's not brilliant, but it's okay. And you know, nothing to it weight wise. There's nothing to it, and it produces great images, as you can see here, as well as great video with a few caveats and a few limitations. But all these limitations are, you know, you can work around. And there we go. Now what we'll do, let's go outdoors for just you know, a couple of minutes so you can actually see how good the image stabilization is doing handheld, and it'll be a handheld vlogging test using the EM5 Mark III. I'm not quite sure what lens I'm going to use, but I'll tell you what lens it is when I do it. So there we go, the EM5 Mark III vlogging test. So I'm just doing a quick vlogging test with the Olympus OM D EM5 Mark III. Have to be careful where I walk, I'll probably trip over something. Now I've got the image stabilization set to MIS, I think, or M1S, which is sensor stabilized as well as electronic image stabilization, and that's great for walking and talking. But you'll find the Olympus is really good with its image stabilization, and I don't hold the camera terribly steadily. I'm not very good with this sort of thing because, as I said earlier, I suffer with a really bad shoulder. The face and eye detector is really good with the Olympus, so I should be in perfect focus, and I can see on the screen it has got a histogram, so I can kind of see that the exposure is pretty decent. I think it's a little bit overexposed, but nothing drastic, because I've got it on manual settings at the moment. So I've got it set to 1/50th of a second, and I think it's, yeah, F6 it's set to. I'm using the Panasonic 12-35 f2.8 Pro lens to do this test with, mainly because of the 12mm. I could do with something a little bit wider, but 12mm is fine with this. That's effectively 24mm in a full frame body, though obviously this is micro four thirds. It has got a mic input. I've got an external microphone plugged in. I've basically plugged in my Sennheiser MKE 200, is it? The little new little compact microphone. So that's great. I could use a tie clip mic. It would be slightly better, but for this purpose I think that'll be absolutely fine. And I can see the audio levels on the display, and I can see they're working. But as I said, it hasn't got a headphone jack, so you just hope that everything is fine. It should be, because for vlogging, you know, this sort of thing would be absolutely fine. So there we go, that's a quick vlogging test with the Olympus EM5 Mark III. The camera's so light, it's not actually too bad for vlogging, even for me with my poor shoulder. Although the grip isn't great, I don't think I'd want to hold it for too long, because I can feel it digging into the palm of my hand. It might just be the way that I'm holding it, but yeah, that's the Olympus OM D EM5 Mark III as a vlogging camera. I think you can see there, it's pretty stable. Even, I mean, I'm not moving, but it is handheld, and that image stabilization is keeping that a pretty stable image. So I'm really impressed with it, and I think, you know, for those that do a lot of vlogging, this may well be, you know, a really good choice. It's certainly worth looking at anyway. So there we go. So there we go, that was the vlogging test, and I think you'll agree, handheld, even with me, I can't hold a camera out for too long like that, because I've got a really poor shoulder. So I mean, hopefully you'll agree that the sound quality and the image quality is absolutely fine. I mean, autofocus works excellently, so you know, everyone's a winner. Great piece of kit. I will do a comparison in another video of this camera versus the Fujifilm XS10. Now the only reason I would do that, this is quite a bigger camera, but I'm going to do that for one reason. They're both very, very similar price. I think this is 900 quid body only here in the UK, and the Olympus is 910 quid, or something like that anyway. So they're incredibly close in price. And this is a nice compact APS-C camera, but I thought I would do a comparison, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that are going to be looking at what they're going to buy, and they will be looking at price and might be comparing one camera against another based on price. So I'll do that in another video, but there we go. For now, that is the Olympus OM D EM10 Mark III. Yeah, no, not EM10, EM5 Mark III. Oh my gosh, let's get it right. The Olympus OM D EM5 Mark III. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you do enjoy my channel. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. It really does help me grow the channel, and I really appreciate that. Leave comments below as well. That helps me a great deal. I do read all of them, and that's really, really good of you to, you know, make comments. I particularly like the positive ones. In fact, I get very few nasty comments these days. In fact, hardly any, which is great. I must be doing something right. And hit the like button if you found the content of this particular video useful. Really appreciate that as well. So thanks very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos relating to video and photography. Cheers for now. Bye.